websites might not be a thing in the future.
I cannot believe you just said that.
ChatGPT has done a deal with Shopify whereby you can purchase within ChatGPT and also do review.
So I can go and buy a shirt from ChatGPT. I don't need to go to the designer's website.
It will be coming.
It will become like that.
If you can do everything within those large language models or AI agents, do we really need websites? We've signed 2 clients that found us directly through ChatGPT. If you keep showing up all over the place, people remember your brand, and often it's not like someone sees your brand, they make an inquiry, they make a sale. It's not as linear as that. Often they'll see your brand in multiple places and they'll start to understand it before they make an inquiry. What's going to be valuable is building a personal brand.
Why is that?
Because I think
Richard Conway, digital marketing expert.
Founder of one of New Zealand's most awarded search agencies.
He's helping thousands of people scale their digital presence online, now with AI.
What's your strategy to up your game?
so.
Quick one. Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode. Richard, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back.
It's so good to have you because there's so much that I want to talk to you about today. I think, AI search and AI and ChatGPT, OpenAI, it's changing our world. We did talk about it a little bit last time you came. You're a founder of Pure SEO, the bit of a story there. We did talk about it last episode, but for people who don't know you, I'd love for a little recap and then we can get straight into it.
Hey, so I came to New Zealand in 2009, didn't know anyone, and no one wanted to give me a job, no Kiwi experience. So I started a business called Pure SEO, $200, bottle of Grey Goose for the logo, and kind of built it from there. And it was all focused on lead generation through Google primarily, so getting people ranking on Google and Google Ads. Finally, we're 16 years down the line, and it's not as effective anymore when you get people to the top of Google. So we have to adapt as a business. And so that's what I've been going through for the last few years, is adapting Pure SEO. We've actually got a new brand coming out called the Optimisers, and it's more about optimising for customer acquisition and being platform agnostic, speaking to customers where they want, when they want, at a time they want. So through things like AI and ChatGPT as well.
Because I was thinking Pure SEO is such a brand now and quite well known, and all I can think about is the name SEO.
Yeah. Is
it dead or is it still surviving today?
Well, it depends how you look at it. Like SEO is still a thing in New Zealand because it's 92% of searches still happen on Google according to SimilarWeb. So no, it's evolving. Like there always going to be optimization, and search engines, answer engines, people are talking about GEO or AEO, so generative engine optimization or AI engine optimization. So as a business, we've had to evolve, but we're still all about lead generation. The tools might change and the mediums might change, but ultimately the discipline is similar.
Can we please delve into the three? SEO, GEO, and AEO. What are they and how different are they? And then how can businesses really make of this whole shift that's going on right now? Because I think a lot of people are just getting used to AI. Yeah. Not even like thinking how can they show up in AI search, and they're still thinking about Google. Yep. There's so much going on. So let's take it down and have a nice structured conversation. Starting with what's SEO, what's GEO, and what's AEO.
So SEO is search engine optimization, and that's the practice of optimizing your website and things off your website to appear higher on search engines like Google and Bing and the likes. Now, there's still a lot of traffic to be had, but the number of zero-click searches are going up, and I can talk about that later. GEO and AEO are kind of the same thing. It's such an early stage that there's no consensus around what it should be called, but it's ultimately optimizing your online presence so you appear in these large language models like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, or AI overviews or AI mode in the US, which got launched in May.
Okay, so that's what SEO, GEO, and AEO is. So you talked about zero-click. I've heard that term before. Please tell me what that means really quickly before we delve into the transition between SEO, GEO, and AEO, please.
So when I started the business, Google sent visitors to websites. That's what they did. But nowadays, they try and answer the query within the search results. And so someone doesn't actually go to the website. And I've seen it across New Zealand. There's been a big reduction in clicks. Now, that hasn't necessarily translated into a reduction in sales and things because there tends to be less commercial queries answered through that at the moment. But I'm sure that will change.
Okay. So what does that really mean for businesses, please? Because how helpful is that to have a zero-click? Is it helpful or is it actually... And how do you get to the top of that zero-click summary on Google? And is it actually a good summary? Is it a good thing? Is it... Talk me more about that because... Yeah, it's confusing. There's so many terms right now, and people have to deal with the old method, but also have to understand the new method.
Absolutely, and you can kind of leverage one for the other. But in my opinion, it is good to be in those answers. There are some links to websites in those answers, so they do send traffic. However, it's, I think, good from a brand building perspective. If you keep showing up all over the place, people remember your brand. And often it's not like someone sees your brand, they make an inquiry, they make a sale. It's not as linear as that. Often they'll see your brand in multiple places and they'll start to understand it before they make an inquiry. And so there's lots of different things to do to appear in those. And it's different for slightly different... different large language models at the moment. But what I would say for website owners is it's nothing to worry about. It's just thinking about marketing. So with SEO, it was all about good content and links. Now, a lot of that content, so link is like when an external website points to yours, that's kind of like a vote for your website.
Yeah.
And content was generally answering things that send people to your website. Now, the way people query through large language models like ChatGPT is very different to SEO. And it's more conversational, it's longer things. So it might be like something, I'm looking for a mortgage. Can you compare the different mortgages available for me and let me know how much money I need to put down on the different things and put it in a table format. Like you wouldn't do that on Google, but you would do that in the large language models. So there's multiple things to look at. The first thing I would suggest people look at is when they do queries around their industry, look at which sources the LLMs look at. And so you can actually see the sources, it will tell you.
Okay.
And have a look if you're in there and if you can get in there. If you're not and you can't, look at the sources of the sources and you can ask the LLM why they chose that as a source. So it will tell you.
Right.
And so try and insert yourself in that. That's one way.
Can I just pause? These sources are being shown in the Google top of Google summary, AI generated summary.
They're normally on the right-hand side and they say sources and you click more and it will show more.
And this is on Google search?
Yeah.
Right. Because, before I talk about sources, I want to talk about how good that summary is because you were talking recently on a radio station with Catherine Ryan on RNZ and she was saying the quality of that search is not so good for her own use as a journalist.
Yeah.
So she still has to go through that deep digging and for information. So, but in terms of, we're a business podcast. So, if you're a business and you want to show up in that little thing, how helpful is it for that business to show up in that summary?
So I would always want to be in the summary. However,
Yeah.
at the moment it's a bit the Wild West. So when I started Pure SEO in 2009, there was spam everywhere and the results weren't so good, and it was quite easy to trick Google into showing a website. Same is happening now with these large language models. And they're focused on customer acquisition at the moment. And so it's kind of, they don't really care about that. But they will care about it in the future. Right? It's seen it before. And so my opinion is you don't do it in a spammy manner, because that will come back to bite you.
Can you explain to me the spamming manner and what that looks like and what you should not do?
Yeah, so I wrote an article actually for the Marketing Association recently on their blog, which actually shows images of what that is. But ultimately, a lot of websites are just putting up, the top 10 web developers, even if they're a web developer themselves. And often they're international websites, and they'll actually have non-New Zealand web developers which will show up. So that's not great. However, you don't want to try and game it too much. What I would suggest is you go the other way. And what is going to win out in this LLM world is similar to links, but not actually links. It's citations. So you want your business to be mentioned by multiple sources, especially local, if you're a local business. And I think the more you get mentioned, the more that these large language models are going to see that you're authoritative. Currently, there's a disproportionate allocation to things like Reddit and Quora and stuff like that. And so engage with the community on Reddit. Now, I wouldn't say do it as a user, do it as yourself, a user, the company. So be transparent about everything. And a lot of people will create fake users and try and engage in things. That will come back to bite you, in my opinion.
Right. Okay.
Engage as your company and show that your company cares and engages with your audience.
Right.
You could even go one step further and engage with the mavens on Reddit and interview them and get them engaged with your brand so that they organically talk about it.
What's Maven?
So like the ones that are the influencers on there.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, and that I think in the long term, that in the short term and the medium term will work. In the long term, I think it's going to be more around top tier media and higher value websites. So like it could be that you engage with a local school or a sports club and get them to post about you on their website, on their Facebook page and so on. And that will show the large language models that you're relevant to that location.
Interesting you talk about Reddit and Quora, because they exist for a while, and I have never even paid attention to Reddit or Quora, because search engine is either Google or YouTube. That's where I'm going to get my answers. Yeah. Never really go there and ask. And I wonder why LLMs, OpenAI is going to Quora and Reddit to get answers, as opposed to focusing on a Google search or focusing on YouTube as well. I mean, they go to YouTube, don't they? There's a lot of YouTube sources.
Yeah. So this is only like opinion, but I think it's because there's so much data. Plus, also these large language models want to appear human-like, and it's very conversational.
Right.
And it's also like opinions, and so they're grabbing a lot of stuff that they perceive will help make the output better.
And it trusts Reddit because it sees it as an authority.
Well, it sees it as public opinion, so because it's conversational. But one of the problems with Reddit is there's so many bots. Yeah. And, what is the demographic of Reddit? I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's at the moment it's like they're trying to amplify their own outputs and their own knowledge, and that's a big source of information. Will it be how it ends up? Probably not. But it's an indication of where we are and where we're going at the moment, because they want to get uniqueness out and almost like a humanoid sort of output, because people feel more comfortable engaging with that.
So what should you be doing in a really simple list for me? I know you said a few bits and pieces. You were talking about what not to do and what's going to be spammy. So what can a business owner really do to be able to get up on and search results. We're talking about Google search results now and that little summary. We haven't even got into OpenAI just yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What should they do?
So, give me a business, like.
Okay. It's always hard. PR work.
Okay, so a PR company. Now, let's just say it's an Auckland-focused PR company, right? What they could do is they could create their own event and invite business leaders to the event, and they could have different giveaways, or they could have different like presenters and things, and then they could create competitions where they could create widgets, so like a rosette or something that these businesses could then put on their website and talk about it. And so the more this PR company is talked about on different sources, the more likely they are to appear. And it would work for the other large language models as well, so it would work ubiquitously. Plus, it's also good marketing. You know, if it's their target market, it would kind of be across the board. But I really think uniqueness is what's going to be important, because so many people use things like ChatGPT or things verbatim, like the language, and it's like a Paul Covers van at the moment, and everybody's going to be doing it. And how do you stand out? What's unique about your business? You know, feature the people, feature the community, feature things that AI won't be able to do, because AI is democratizing knowledge.
What does that mean? What's that term democratizing mean?
So it means that like knowledge is going to be much more available from AI models, and so it's going to be cleverer than everyone. And so what separates you, and AI doesn't have experiences, you know, and those personal connections and those stories. So that's a difference, and that's something that you can leverage, because it's never going to have that. You know, it's going to be smarter than you. It's going to have more access to more knowledge than you, but it's not going to have those personal experiences. And so it might make them up, but it's not going to have the real heart, you know, and you can feel that.
Okay.
And so create those personal experiences, you know, feature your team members, you know, what's unique about your business.
When you say feature your team members and what's unique about your business, are we talking about putting them on your website, or having to put them on a podcast or in an interview, or write about them in an article? Like, how does that look like with the experiences?
So as far and wide as possible, certainly have your staff interviews on your website. But there is the thing that websites might not be a thing in the future.
That's interesting to hear, because I cannot believe you've just said that.
Yeah, well, ChatGPT has done a deal with Shopify whereby you can purchase within ChatGPT and also do reviews. Now, if you can do everything within those large language models or AI agents, whatever you want to call them, like, do we really need websites? Will we just have a database and an API call where these AI agents then pull information and keep them within their own platform? I don't know, but it doesn't seem that far-fetched to me.
For some people who don't know what API means.
So it's just something that connects the database to ChatGPT so that it can pull information.
Okay.
Right.
So I can go and buy a shirt from ChatGPT. I don't need to go to the designer's website to buy that.
It will be coming.
It will become like that.
And like I did a silly post yesterday on LinkedIn. I was testing this AI stuff in the US.
I want to talk about that later. Yeah.
It's absurd. Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I want to... We'll make a note to talk about the what's happening in the US and the things that you're testing, because I think it's really interesting. So we talked about Google. We talked about that little summary that shows up on top of Google, and the sources, and how you can try and get yourself to be up there. And you were talking about the lived experiences, the special things, the unique things about a business that AI is not going to be able to tell.
Yeah.
So, and you were talking about that needs to be everywhere. Meaning a website, meaning articles, meaning LinkedIn.
Yeah, as far and wide as you can get it.
Like all platforms. We're talking on all platforms that this business is wanting to engage with their customers.
Yeah, and Probably what I would do as a business owner, I would try and identify where my customers hang out, and I would focus on those rather than just going across the board.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you want your brand mentioned in as many places as possible.
Right.
Because that's an indication to these large language models that you're popular or you're authoritative.
So it's the number of platforms within which your business is being talked about. So there's a focus here on being talked about, and being talked about means being tagged.
Or just being referred to, having your brand name mentioned in a PR article or on a blog or on a
LinkedIn post or a Facebook post
or a Reddit.
So So let's take that PR example. So such and such PR company is doing XYZ work, and we're really happy because we get to see them. How often will you be able to get someone to talk about your company, PR or otherwise? It seems to me, maybe a Google review comes to mind when someone talks about another company. How can you get that to happen? Quick one. Mina here. Thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your support. One thing that you can do for me is to please hit the subscribe button below. I promise you that if you hit subscribe, I'm going to work hard to make sure that my episodes are really good, that will get better and better. So, do we have a deal? Okay, back to the episode.
So you have to do good marketing. You have to be. So another example would be if you're focused locally, you could engage with a local school or sports club and sponsor something, like a sort of stand at a local school.
Right.
And the school will talk about you. If you offer a competition, they might talk about the competition, put it on their Facebook page and promote that, and they'll be talking about you. The other thing that I think is really important from a marketing perspective is starting to gather first-party data. And what I mean by first-party data is your own database of customer names, customer details, because third-party data, which we've relied on in the past, is getting harder and harder to access.
What's the third-party data?
So that's Google having, or third-party platforms, using their data.
Right.
And so when you have it yourself, you control that. You can market to that. You can remarket to that. Because you can't rely. We're looking at potentially a cookieless future. So cookies are tracking things on websites.
Right.
And so the advertising gets less and less targeted. Now, if you have your own data, then that changes things. And so, build up your email list, build up your customer information. You can do that through that example I gave. You run a competition, you get people to give you their email addresses and details. And I think that's going to be powerful in the future. Interesting.
So there's quite a lot going on, and I feel like what's happening in my brain is just trying to organize all this information, just having to ask you the next question. Actually, I don't know what to ask you next because it's exciting, and there's heaps in my mind right now. But
so I can talk about something else that's really important, I think, or is going to be valuable, is building a personal brand. Right?
Interesting. Why is that?
Because I think
And what's a personal brand from your point of view?
So you talk about someone like Gary Vee. Like, everyone seems to know Gary Vee, and like they put out information, and they're known as experts in the field.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, that talks both to the references, but also talks to a certain amount of unique ability to reach people. And so the more you build your personal brand, and this should be for employees in businesses as well, because it makes them more appealing. If lots of people know them and they have a bit of buzz in the marketplace, I think that's going to be important going forward. And so I think business brand and personal brand are going to be massively important over the next sort of few years.
Like, if you're thinking about your own personal brand, what's your strategy to up your game?
So I'm a little bit unique in that respect, in that I've got like a few different tranches. So obviously there's the AI, there's the SEO. That's something that I live and breathe. I love the entrepreneurship thing, and so that's a different one. And then the other is like promoting others and like sticking others on your shoulders. Because if you've got a platform, and you meet these people all the time, and I hate the tall poppy thing. And so if you've got a platform, you can help others, promote others through that. And so they're the kind of 3 pillars of my own personal thing. But
if I go back to that personal brand, plan for you, if you would advise someone starting out in business, or maybe has been in business but have got no clue what a personal brand is and haven't even been thinking about that, what are the fundamental steps they need to take to start when they have got not a lot of resources?
Yeah, so I came to New Zealand. I wasn't even on LinkedIn in 2009. I had a conversation with a lady who was actually a journalist, Jill South, and that stimulated me doing those things. But really, I think it's about giving value and being consistent. Like, so many people give up because it's not easy and it's accretive. It's hard to do it, but if you keep showing up every single day and you do things all the time consistently, that's how you build something. And so many people give up after a year or whatever because it is hard and it does take time.
Right.
But I think persistence pays off, and also try and give value. Is someone gonna have a reaction to your what you're giving out? Is it going to be valuable to them? Is it going to make them laugh? Or what are you trying to elicit? But I think the consistency of doing it is probably the most important thing.
So needing to be consistent, but what are they going to be doing to be consistent in? What are the 3 simple things or the steps for someone who needs to step into that personal branding? Do they need to be talking about themselves? Do they need to be posting a video? Do they need to be having conversations on a podcast? Do they need to be talking to PR companies to push them out to do stuff? How does personal branding actually going to help? And what can you do to build it up as a startup?
So depending where your target market is or where you want to be, I mean, you look at some of these like social media influencers, and they build up like brands personal brands pretty quickly. And for me it's been LinkedIn because that's a kind of business platform, and I do a lot of speaking at events and things like that. But that didn't come straight away. It came by getting out there.
I suppose people need to trust you if you want to do these things, and if for someone who's starting out and hasn't got that trust, it's kind of challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And put your head above the parapet and share and put out stuff that gives value and that people want to engage with. And you can kind of use your mates and your own kind of audience to help amplify at the beginning. But ideally, you want to reach a new audience.
Right.
And so I would look at following other people in my audience or people that I look up to and comment and engage with them. And, at some point they might do the same reciprocally, but you don't expect it. You just keep going and going. And the more things you do, the more happens.
Absolutely. So it's a lot about giving away and reaching out and not being afraid. And, according to you, personal branding is really important. And that is going to influence. Is it true? Because, I do believe that personal branding is key. And thinking about 10 years ago, people looked at a business brand like Adidas and Nike versus a personal brand of the CEO or the team. And now people want to look at who's working behind the organization. It's not so much pure SEO, it's who's Richard and who's his team. And so your team now going to be needing to think about if the CEO needs to be out there and talking about them and personal branding, then can you amplify that to all of your staff?
Yeah, well, I encourage them to, but some people are not comfortable doing it. Like, I was so uncomfortable doing it. I remember the first time I got asked to speak at an event, I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks beforehand.
Gosh.
But it gets easier the more you do it.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be everyone though, but wouldn't that be helpful for a business to think about if they are especially maybe 5-person business or 10-person business, is to think who are the top 2 or 3 people who are well spoken, understands the business, and would be able to talk about it in all sorts of different platforms and ways, and having all these conversations being tagged back into the business, the flow that will come back from that is quite profound.
Yeah, and I also have the view that it's good to be different. So if everyone's doing the same thing, how can you approach it in a different manner?
Yeah.
Like, how can you stand out? I think zig when everyone else is zagging. And an example was like when I was doing, when I was actually involved day to day in the business, like everyone's doing these ebooks. And so I spoke to Penguin Random House and they published a physical book around SEO that I wrote. And like, it's being different when everyone's doing the same thing. Like, how do you change things? Because that's how you stand out. How
did you get into Penguin? Because isn't it so hard to get your book published? Is it?
Yeah, it
that's
is.
What I hear.
But yeah, it was ultimately a cold approach by myself. And yeah, so I'm a lot of the cool, like people are just people. Like, I don't put anyone on a pedestal.
I agree. There's no such, in my view, there's no such thing as important. Someone who's important.
And everyone's got flaws.
Everyone is everyone.
Yeah. So I'll approach people like it's there's a guy Ram Fishkin. I approached him through LinkedIn, and he started Moz, and he's kind of like top tier in my industry, and he wrote chapter of the book for me. And that was through a cold approach, and I've had a lot of things through cold approaches. Yeah. But I'm quite considered around the type of approach and the way in which I articulate it. Because if you just say, give me this, like the initial reaction is obviously, sort of like...
How did that interaction go? I'm very curious. What was the conversation like?
It was a long time ago, so I can't remember. But generally, like...
But you had to give him some sort of value, or a general field concept is if you want to get someone to do something for you, you need to slowly get in there, or just... help them out in some way. Is this what felt like it was?
I can't quite remember, but it might have been around, he wrote a book, Lost and Founder, which was excellent.
Yeah.
And I might have posted about that, and I might have mentioned that in the approach, but I try and make it bespoke, personal, and something that shows I actually give her. Yeah. Like, it's not just... like, give me this. It's like, I value what you've done, and I think, audiences would value what you've done. I know you're busy, but if I could have a quote or something like that from you, it'd be awesome.
I love this. And we've touched on a number of things now in terms of the SEO, GEO, and AEO. And we talked about the Google and the summary at the top. Can we go into OpenAI now, into ChatGPT? Tell us what's happening now when I search for top marketing company or top PR company in New Zealand. Find me the best. How do you have you had an idea of how these answers are coming up? What is AI thinking about when they're bringing you the best?
Yeah, so what they're looking at is they're looking at different websites to see repetition, or they trust certain websites to pull those kind of things. They won't generally tell you who the individual best is, but they will give you a kind of curated list. But with ChatGPT, you can see the sources. And I did an analysis of it, and they're quite spammy sources at the moment. And so it is still the Wild West.
Right.
And so I would... we were in all the sources anyway, because we're the most well-known in New Zealand, and the list wouldn't be realistic without the top agencies in New Zealand. But you do find this, the answers, they might give you 3 or 4 in New Zealand, and then they'll start to be from India, from America, and like...
Oh, okay.
So, and one of them, I think it was a Microsoft one, actually pulled out a company in that list that we'd acquired years ago. So I knew that they weren't even operating anymore. So yeah, it was interesting.
And so these companies are making a list and turning them into an article on their website and saying, here are the top 10 PR companies or marketing companies. And that's what AI is going and reading.
Yeah, so one of them was in that thing was clutch.co. And so I had a look at them because I wanted to understand why they were being pulled from there. And so there was a few things. One was clutch.co looked like it was a paid thing, so you could pay to be in those lists, which in itself is absurd. But when I use something called Ahrefs, which is a software to look at the value of that website, it had an absolute astronomical value because it had so many links from loads and loads of different places. And so they're trying to do it in the right way, but it's still actually quite spammy. And then I asked ChatGPT, why did you pull it from this website when it looks like they're paid? And it came up with, oh, well, you're right, blah, 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 and yeah.
Interesting.
But obviously it doesn't think, so it's not actually really, it's not thinking like a human. It's just kind of responding in a human-like manner.
Quickly, AI is here, and it's disrupting all of us, disrupting our work, our play, and our businesses. You either learn about it and know how to apply, or you get left behind. Simple as that. So my friends at Academy X are running 10-week masterclass called Disruptive Technologies. It is going to teach you how to use AI and tech to shape your future and to walk away with skills that you can use immediately at work. And this is so important to stay ahead of the curve, something that we talk about a lot on the show. So why wait? Click the link in the description and sign up. The course begins August 19th. Okay, back to the episode. We did talk about what businesses can do to be in front of the in front of Google AI search summary thing. Do they need to do something different to be in front of OpenAI search?
Yeah, there is some overlap. It's not enormous, but it is the similar process. You look at the sources and the sources of the sources. The other thing is there are people in this industry that I follow that do real deep analysis on this stuff. And so there's a guy called Mike King from iPullRank. There is a guy from Sear Interactive. There's obviously Rand Fishkin. There's Neil Patel. And if you follow these guys on LinkedIn and things, you will actually see some real data analysis on what's going on, because it is evolving and it's changing all the time. And so I'm reticent to say to people, try and get in now in this method, because it will work for a period. But I try and advise people to do things that will be enduring. And if you get your brand talked about, and if you do good marketing and you make sure that that's leveraged online, it's going to win out in the long run.
Okay, because then how do we optimize content for both SEO and AI search, which is the generative engine optimization?
Yeah, well, it's not that easy. It's a continual process, and it's one of the reasons we started our new brand, the Optimisers, is because it does take more time and it does take more effort and it does take more planning. But I kind of go back to the create things that are unique and try and get chatter about them online. What will create a buzz? What will create organic talking points? And I'll give you an example that we employed this lady called Brittany Muller from the US, and she is like probably one of the best in the world at AI and search. And she advised us for 1.5 years on how to evolve our own business, because you don't know what you don't know. And she did this thing with Taylor. There's an SEO agency in the US that did carbon emissions by celebrities, and the top one was Taylor Swift, and it got everywhere. But then what Brittany did is she went on X and she pointed out that Taylor Swift tried to change the narrative and went to a Jets game and created a furore because it was talking about private jets. And Brittany's post on X got tens of thousands of engagements and millions of impressions because it was current, it was interesting, and it was on topic. Obviously, that's the US, so it's slightly different. But think in that manner.
Right.
How are you going to get people to actually want to talk about things, and what's cool, what's different, what's engaging?
Kind of have to be topical then, by the sound of things. You have to be talking about what other people are talking about as well. So can AI search engine crawl and index our content clearly?
It can on a website. Was it the other day, Sitecore introduced something where they are trying to get crawlers to not crawl things. And I think Amazon have done the same. And so there's a bit of pushback, free information or not. But as website owners, we want our information out there. But if you're one of these massive brands, do you want to control it? So it's an interesting kind of balance. But these large language models are trying to eat up as much information, as much data as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's...
Is there like a phase that it's going through right now before it starts to think about dissecting the information? Or is it like a continuous process of ChatGPT getting all the information possible from us, and then I don't know, like do you from what you understand, is there a process, is there a phase, or what's going on?
Well, at the moment they're trying to grab as much, and like I say, it's the Wild West, and so it's a bit spammy. But if that starts to impact visitor numbers and stuff, they will change things like Google did with the spam, because they want to be the platform, they want to get the market share.
Right.
So I ultimately think that we will have our own AI agents that we train.
Yes.
And that will do a lot of the thing. We're talking about things called agentic AI, so AI that can kind of perform tasks like a PR, so you could PA. So you could say, like, I want to book this holiday, find that for me and book it, and also sort out my itinerary and email this person. And that is going to come.
Right.
We're a way off from it at the moment, but that will change everything.
When do you expect it to arrive?
Probably a couple of years, but
right.
So often...
And how is that going to impact the business world or entrepreneurship world?
Oh, it will impact a lot. But if you think about it, when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have smartphones, and they impacted in significant ways, and so jobs die and new jobs appear. And I think a lot of people use these things like ChatGPT, in my view, in the wrong way. Like, they're using them like question, answer. I think to get the best out of them, it's kind of like a backward and forward thing and refining thing, and the way you ask the question will determine the outcome. But if you just use it like a search engine, you're not going to get the best outcomes. Can
you give me an example, please, of a good way of using ChatGPT?
Right, so I chat backwards and forwards with it. Right. Like, for example, I was writing a press release the other day, and I was talking to it, and it gave me a result, and then I said, what about including this or taking this away, and giving it more information, and then it gave me something. I will not use anything it writes verbatim, but I like writing. Writing is kind of, words are one of my things, and so I rewrite things, but it saves me so much time, and it also gets me thinking about how other people do it. And I got it to look at sites that I wanted to get the press release published in, and so it looked at what stuff had happened previously, and they published previously. And so as well with the branding for the optimizers, conversation around brand, this is what I want to achieve, what do you think? It comes back with some ideas, and what am I not seeing? And if you were this person, I look at the Zappos brand and have a look at what they did, and how does that relate to my brand, and is there ways that I can improve? And so it's an iterative process. You're
almost looking at the ChatGPT as a real human, but having a back and forth convo, as opposed to just giving it one prompt and then. So you don't use the ChatGPT answer for you. What do you do with the copy that gives it to you? Like with the press release that you were trying to get it to write? So
I look at that and then I write my own, but I use that as a guide.
Yeah.
But I like writing, so that's. But it's also
an idea. Like you can use it as an idea generation.
Yeah, and I just rewrite it in my own words and with my own anecdotes and my own experience, because, like I said earlier, they don't have experience.
So, is AI-driven traffic helping or hurting conversions is the question I have written here, because zero-click AI summaries are reducing clicks and assess whether AI referrals still lead to meaningful action. So zero-click AI summaries are helping or not helping conversions for some businesses?
So I'm not sure they're impacting conversions a huge amount, because I talk about YL, your money or your life. Like these large language models don't necessarily at the moment want to get in trouble for suggesting buy this, or this is the cure for your illness. Like those kind of, but in the future, they will.
Yeah.
Like once they're sure of things. But I haven't seen conversions necessarily decrease a huge amount.
Right.
But the way we get those conversions is going to change. Like when I started my business, you got a website on the top of Google, they couldn't stop the phone ringing. Nowadays, that's not the case. We often get people saying, I'm not getting the leads I want. And that's why we changed our business, because we could see this change happening. And as a business, we're all about giving clients leads. And so if they're not getting the same level of leads from that platform, we have to evolve. Otherwise, we become a Kodak or a Blockbuster Video. So that's why I'd rather lead that than follow others.
So it's hard, because you want to evolve, and it's hard. I think you guys are obviously evolving and changing, but there's a lot of businesses out there, they're not. Do you see that what do you see in terms of the businesses coming to you, having those queries about, I need more leads, I'm not getting as I used to get? Are they coming in now more and more? Like, do you see more of an increase in that now?
So absolutely, especially around the GEO, generative engine optimization. And funnily enough, like in the last few weeks, we've signed 2 clients that found us directly through ChatGPT. And you can look in your Google Analytics and you can see the traffic that's come from ChatGPT. You can see it's come from Perplexity. And if I looked at mine yesterday, actually, and I can see that it's increasing significantly. And then there are now new tools to measure how often you're cited and things like that. And so there's a whole evolution of new tools coming out. But we are so early, who knows who's going to win out. And so my view is read, play, test, but just everything in your mind should be, don't do it purely for this purpose. Do it from a good marketing perspective. Does it make sense for my brand? Does it make sense for my marketing?
Yeah. If
I'm doing it purely to appear in Chat GPT, then it's probably not going to be enduring.
And I think you just talked about tools that are not. Tell me more about these tools. What have you been using? What do you use personally, and how helpful has it been for you? So
I use ChatGPT because I've trained it up I've written thousands of articles, and I've trained it up on my own voice, and we've got a commercial version, and so it's got the safety and security around it, because otherwise, your stuff could be used
leaked.
But there's such an evolution. I can't remember the website, but I can give it to you later. If there's a guy that recently did an analysis of all the tools at the moment and plotted them on a graph, and it's actually really good. But they're changing all the time. We use things like Ahrefs, which has also now got, but you have to pay extra, tells you, how you appear in ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. I personally wouldn't invest as a small business in that stuff at the moment. I think it's too much of a moving goalpost. But I would follow these guys I mentioned, like...
Who were they again?
So Will from Sear Interactive, obviously Brittany Muller, who we employed, the guy... what's his name? Something King from iPullRank, Mike King from iPullRank, Neil Patel, people like that. And then look at who they engage with. There's SEMrush have done a really good study. There's an amazing paper released by Mary Meeker from ARK Invest around AI. And so if you follow these guys, you will be literally, and obviously myself, you will literally be
of course.
Engaging with the people that are at the forefront of this industry. Ram Fishkin and Spark Toro, I love what he's done because he understands the way things are moving. And with Spark Toro, what it is about identifying who is influential in your industry. And so you see what websites, what people, and then, that's who to engage with, and that's who to try and leverage, because you want to be where your target market is. There's no point doing things, slapdash. Like, try and focus on where your target market is. If they're not on LinkedIn, don't focus on LinkedIn. So it's a really good tool. Unfortunately, it's not focused on the UK. On New Zealand and Australia. It's the US.
Right. Okay.
But it's excellent if you're targeting the US.
And you've been playing around with some US tools that are not around in New Zealand just yet. and you've been posting about that recently. And I tried to follow.
Yeah.
I tried, and found it challenging to understand. So, what have you been playing around with, and why is it not in New Zealand yet?
Cool. So in May, Google launched something called AI Mode Live in the US, which has been available as a beta in the US for a while, and that will come to the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like AI overviews, but a more refined version. But if you need something called a VPN, virtual private network. I use ExpressVPN. I think about $60 a year, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can change your IP address to show that it's like in the US.
Right.
And when you do that, you can then sign up to Google Labs, which is a little sort of like test tubey kind of thing on the right of the Google search. And then you'll have access to these tests they're doing. One of them, which was really interesting, was a voice one. And so you get voice answers and voice things. And I think we'll go that way within the search results. Because I look at my kids, and my kids talk to these things all the time. And, it's pretty normal for them.
Mm.
And that was really interesting. And the one you're talking about was pretty embarrassing, to be honest. So I tried Google Shopping.
Okay.
And that within that, you can click a button, try it on. If you take a photo of yourself standing up, and it will then show what those clothes look like you in a matter of seconds, and it's absolutely brilliant. Why I say it was embarrassing is my daughter's sick at home, my 11-year-old, and we were playing with it, and so she put me in a dress. I thought it was really humorous and dared me to post it on LinkedIn, so I did.
And what something around someone was saying, were you saying I need to buy a dress or something? Like AI seems to think that I need to buy a dress.
No, it's like I've tried on the thing, and it just click that button and it shows it, and you can obviously. I did one later with guys' clothes on the same one, different picture.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's funny, and my daughter Amber was rolling about laughing, and it's I don't take myself too seriously.
No, of course.
But in 24 hours, that has had over 17,000 impressions, and shows you do things a bit silly, you don't take yourself too seriously, and it that cost me nothing, and it perpetuates things, and it also shows to the market I'm testing these tools that are going to be important for them, and they want people that actually understand where the future is going, and test these things and make the mistakes and the decisions for them, and so that they can leverage these things safely. And so that's kind of...
So are you officially helping businesses get in front of AI search?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the core propositions of our business at the moment.
And if you are helping them, isn't it a lot about them doing the work, being able to do those articles, conversations? Because I also was wondering about, does AI read podcasts like this podcast? Is it listening to our conversation and finding the answers to any question that we have gone over in case somebody has that same question? Is that happening now with AI?
I don't actually know. My team might know. But I think they certainly will see that the podcast is talked about, is shared, the text around it. I'm not sure about whether it will be able to actually listen to the podcast.
I wonder if it can listen, or maybe it can read the transcript.
Yeah, so it's another good one to play with for your audience. Notebook LM, which is a Google one, and you can literally put something in, click a button, and it will create a podcast of that, and it will sound like real humans interacting. It's absolutely crazy, and kids are using these things for like school stuff. You can upload a book in there, and it will do a summary for you. It will do essays for you, and like.
What do you think about that? Do you think it's helpful to a business or harmful to a business to get AI to create an AI podcast?
Depends how you pitch it. Like, it's helpful if you say, look, this is so cool. I've got AI to create this for me, and like, or you could do it in a way like where you have a real one and a fake one, and you say like, tell me which one you think is real, which one you think is fake. So do it in a different way that doesn't like try and deceive anyone. And I think that's where the value lies, as opposed to just, oh, look, I can do all these podcasts for nothing. And because lots of people will be doing that. And if lots of people do it, then it's going to lose value.
Yeah. So you wouldn't recommend someone doing an AI? I mean, if you ask a podcaster like myself, I always say, well, the real stuff is important. But it's a very interesting proposition to just click one button and then you just have a whole production with you don't spend any time, no paying of editors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for some businesses. If you have no budget and you want to do it, I would be transparent about it though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe in trying to trick people.
Yeah.
And so if you do it, you know, make light of it and make it that part of the feature, you know, and be really considered about what is on there. Yeah, I see no problem utilising tools like this with video and all that kind of stuff. Like, leverage them, but be aware that there might be lots of other people doing it, probably less in New Zealand, so you will probably get value in New Zealand, but don't try and deceive people, because in my view, there's two things that are really important to business, and one is trust and one is storytelling, right? And once you erode trust, that's gone. You know, it's really hard to win back trust.
Yeah.
And so I have the ethos in my own business, do the right thing, right? And if you always do the right thing, it will come back in spades, and it might be short-term pain, but especially in New Zealand where it's small and people talk to each other. You know, if you do the right thing, then people also talk to each other. And so if you do use that, make that part of the feature, you know, like people will be interested in it. Yeah. Yeah.
And finally, you know, I was thinking the future for AI search, GEO, AEO, and there's so much to delve into, but what do you see from what you're learning and developing yourself and having ideas and travel and following people? What do you see coming next for us?
I think we will have employees that actually manage digital employees. So they manage AI agents as opposed to like teams of developers. And so they are like managing a team of not real people. And that will be a job in itself. I also think people that have outside the box thinking or think a bit differently and more skilled are going to be a lot more important. Like my business, we've totally changed the personnel on the business. You know, we bring in a very different way of thinking because things are evolving so fast, and we need to be trusted. We need to have people that are all over that. And if you have people that will just follow scripts or follow a process, you're not going to be able to do that. And so we've had to evolve our entire business. You know, pretty much we have a whole new team.
Okay.
And everything. It's been
that's fascinating. I care to share what that, how have you done that, or with obviously as much as you like to share, how have you changed your business to adapt to that, and perhaps another business thinking maybe I should do the same?
So I changed everything. I've stepped out as CEO, and I put in a CEO that is more suited to the day-to-day, a guy called Cornelius Borgens, who started a business called Catchy, an analytics business, which he sold to a French multinational, and he's pretty much retired. And then I persuaded him to come in because he's very structure and detail focused and very accountability, and I'm all over the shop. I like everyone, and I'm ideas. And then he's brought in a team of really high-level people, and we have an opportunity to own this space because this space is evolving, but I need people that I trust to be able to, it's my reputation, isn't it? And back in the day with Pure SEO, I built systems and processes for an SEO. Now, those systems and processes are no longer suitable for the next world. So we've had to deconstruct everything and rebuild it from the ground up. But it's taken me a couple of years and millions of dollars and a lot of pain and a lot of stress. But we're there now, so it was worth it. But sometimes you do. Sometimes you need to reinvent yourself. Like if you think about Blockbuster Video, they had an opportunity to get into digital video, but they didn't. They were video cassettes and they died, you
Yeah.
know? And so, fortunately, being entrepreneurial and being that way thinking, I can see, you know, that's what I do. I see what I think is going to be the future. And I might not be right, but I have a North Star. And then, like,
Yeah.
you know, I think Claudia Batten's called it a squiggly line. It's not linear.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to go all over the shop. You're not going to get everything right, but you keep iterating, you keep improving, and you keep testing and testing and testing, and you'll get there. Whereas if you're stuck in legacy thinking, then you will slowly die. The world's changing, adapt or die.
It's fascinating, and thank you for sharing that story and for coming on the podcast again. I appreciate you. It's good to delve into those topics and I don't know, just understand what's happening and get your point of view and get your take and perspective. And all the best to your new brand. Exciting.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity for your listeners, right? This is one of those rare opportunities where if you're an early adopter, you can gain market share, you can gain brand recognition, and so like dive in, play, do, and you will reap the benefits in the long term. Absolutely.
And if people want to reach out to talk to you, ask a question, follow you, where would you like them to go?
So LinkedIn, I'm on, or Richard at pureseo.com, or Richard at theoptimizers.com.
How do you spell the Optimizers, with a Z or with an S?
No, with an S. And there's a whole story behind why we chose that, but for another time.
Yeah, for another time. Thanks, Richard, so much for coming on the pod. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.